the disciples anticipate Jesus' return. In the time after Jesus ascended to heaven, obviously he had to ascend to heaven first before we could talk about him returning, because you have to go somewhere before you can return. You have to do the outward journey first, that's obvious. So after Jesus has ascended into heaven, they start to anticipate his return. Now, it's nice of them to miss him and what have you, but I think they were having a really bad time. When you look at the New Testament, you've got lots of persecution. You've got good things too, but you've got persecution. I mean, you've got Stephen the martyr being stoned, Saul's persecution pre his Damascus Road experience. He was persecuting the Christians. Herod has killed James, and he's arrested Peter. And Paul's got stoned at Lystra. He survived. They started to stone him, but he got away. So we've got lots of persecution and things going on, and they start to look to the promise of Jesus coming back and ending time. And this does quicken them up. It does give them the idea that they've really got to get on with this job and focus, because it's relevant to today in lots of ways, because they have got the expectation of a hope. They're looking forward to an event that hasn't yet happened, that they can't see happening, but they want to happen. We look forward to a time when lockdown is over. We look forward to a time when COVID-19 has been defeated by whatever means the authorities can find to defeat it, or when there's a vaccine or something. And we look forward to that with an expectation of this future event that's going to make things better. And the disciples were doing that. They were looking forward. The time was short, and they had this light bulb moment basically, which was, we've got time before Jesus comes back. We don't know how long that's going to be. Obviously we know that it was 2,000 years plus, because nearly, because we're at 2020 now, and we're talking about post AD 33. We're talking about AD late 30s and AD 40s basically. So we know that he didn't come back, hasn't come back yet. Now, this doesn't mean at all that he isn't coming back. And it isn't a case like you look at insurance risk and say, well, this event hasn't happened for 2,000 years, so it's less likely to happen. It's unlikely to happen, like bad floods and things. It's more likely to happen because we know it will happen. God has said that Jesus is coming back. It's here in his word. He's coming back. He's going to sweep the Christians up from all over the world. He's going to sweep us through the pearly gates. We're going to sing with him, and we're going to be around the throne and in with Jesus forever, with fresh water, and he will be our light. We don't need the sun anymore. We've got a situation down on earth in this time with the disciples hoping for Jesus' return. They're trying to spread the gospel. They are spreading the gospel, and people are being converted. The Pharisees and the teachers of the law, they're not really happy about that. It's not working for them. They're basically still going down a legalistic thing, law of Moses, this sort of stuff. And the disciples are saying basically it's purely faith in the shed blood of the Lord Jesus Christ on the cross. That's how you do it. This is what you need to do. Come to faith, admit your sin, get baptized, and that's what you do. And the Pharisees again are sticking with the strict word of the law of Moses. And our gospel reading, we have big word of the week, easy candidate for big word of the week, phylacteries. Make your phylacteries broad. Now, the phylactery is a box containing Hebrew text which the Jews would strap to themselves to remind themselves of the law of Moses that they needed to keep. And when the Bible is saying make their phylacteries broad, is by saying they made the boxes bigger so they could contain more Hebrew texts that you had to remember that you needed to keep. So they basically are heaping law upon law upon law that you need to keep. And when they talk about the borders of their garments, they had the laws of the Torah written on and stitched into the borders of their garments. So making their garment borders broad was effectively the same thing. Carry around the law, look at it, remember, this is the law of Moses, this is what you need to do. And this is the complete and absolute and utter polar opposite of what the disciples are going around saying. The disciples are going around saying, the Lord Jesus Christ has fulfilled for us the law of Moses. He has come to complete the law, he has done it, and he has opened heaven for us. Now, the problem that we're always faced with is that no one can humanly keep the law of Moses. You can't do it. It's absolutely impossible. And God had put heaven into lockdown. Very simply, he had said, if you keep the law of Moses, if you haven't sinned at all, if you keep all these laws, you can come in. But it was effectively in lockdown because nobody had kept these laws. Everyone had sinned. We have the original sin because we're human, because we followed on from Adam and Eve. And we have the sins that we commit, that we do that are wrong. And we have the sins that we commit by omission, that were things we should have done, that we don't do. We fail to love him all the time. We fail to put him first in all situations. And that just heaps sin upon sin. But, you know, people today, we're almost looking for a time machine to go back to the time to make things better in our lives. If I could go back and undo those things that I did, if I could undo that thing or not do that, or if in those circumstances, it's the regret in our lives that we think, if only in those circumstances I'd been different, if I could go back, I could make things better. But we don't need Doctor Who. We don't need the Time Lord of Gallifrey. We need the Lord of Time from Galilee, who sits above time and has done it all for us. That's who we need. He calls us saints if we know and love him. Imagine how many would know him if we loved him enough and loved them enough to tell them about him. Next week is Remembrance Sunday, and we think about all the people who died so that we could be free. When heaven was locked down until Calvary, and the Lord Jesus Christ died so that we could be free, he prayed to his Father, he bowed his head, and he made space in heaven for us. Hands, face, space.